Welcome everybody. I hope today's session will be much useful to all of you to understand the kind of opportunities agribusiness industry is offering, and you can choose what you would like to become. I would like to share a presentation so that I will take you through the same. Hope this is visible to everybody. My screen.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yeah. So it's all about the career opportunities in food and agribusiness sector. So most of the students, I presume that you are completed BSc Agriculture and then looking forward for the what next, like doing in agribusiness management, or even to understand what kind of employment opportunities are available in the space. So let us start with first Indian agriculture scenario, where India starts at. Of course, most of you may be knowing these general statistics very well, but let us again re-emphasize on where we are actually. So three areas I'm touching here. One is that the land under agricultural cultivation in India is largest in the world with 155 million hectares, and also wild harvest area, which is grown, without any efforts by the humans. It's almost 3.5 million hectares, and the largest organic area also is growing in Indian soil. You can say that 5.7 million hectares of land is there. And then most important aspect when we are supposed to look at when we talk about agriculture is that the economic value, because this is the most important aspect for everybody, for policymakers, for industry, even for common people also, because it generates a great value proposition for the food and as well as agribusiness. So if you look at the numbers, somewhere about 23 trillion Indian rupees, gross value added from agriculture, forest and fishing in India in annum, per annum, that is. When it comes to the market value of agriculture products, 276 billion US dollars, it is such a big gun. It's growing very well. So coming to the crops, what we are still we are predominantly in the staple food like rice, 44 million hectares, and then wheat, 29 million hectares. And the other interesting factor you can see that is 25 million hectare is under horticulture crops, which is rapidly growing. So earlier horticultural crops were very limited, and because of the poor infrastructure and other things, and then lack of awareness and processing related aspects, everything. Of course, the consumer behavior as well. So now these are the things you can easily identify that how Indian agriculture is moving. So coming to the agri-business potential from the Indian perspective is that our greatest potential is our diversity in terms of the climate conditions and as well as the crops what we grow across India. We all know that we have major agroclimatic zones, around 15 across the country, and there are some very again within the every agroclimatic zone, the regional agroclimatic zones also there. So this is what the uniqueness, whatever is grown by and large across the world, we can actually see that within India we can cultivate. So around the year. So that's the unique thing. So, and as I mentioned that before, horticulture is actually on the rise. You can see the numbers here from 2012 to 2018, from 257.1 million tons to 306 million tons. It's rising now. So coming to the traditional way of agribusiness, how it is actually happening. See, it's all about producing something. We all know that either it is paddy or wheat or horticulture crops or vegetables or you name it, any fiber crop or something, oil seeds. It's all about producing. So to produce something, farmer requires various resources apart from the land. So these resources comes from seeds, fertilizers, and then farm equipment, irrigation equipment, and also post-harvest storage solutions. A variety of services actually farmers requires time to time. And these are the factors critically defines the output of the farming community individually or collectively, and at the same time collectively at the national level for the entire country's agriculture production. So if you look at that, how the things are going on, traditional way, that is one of the area, you can just look at the pictures speaks about our traditional input shops. These are the agri input stores, either it is called as a seed shop or pesticide shop or fertilizer shop, something like that. Typically they are called like that only, or agro agency, something like that in our Indian context. So these are the local people who are semi-qualified, or not really professionally qualified, but their fathers actually were into the business in the past, and then they continue that kind of things with their whatever the network they have with the supply chain, within the supply chain. But these all are very limited products and services where the local farmers goes to them and actually try to get the business, the inputs what they require, they try to procure from them. But what happens in practice is that these shops, these are the local dealers or sub dealers, are predominantly limited, with regard to the products, services, to meet the farmers' needs. Because if you look at from the farmer perspective, uh, they have to get a variety of services across the value chain. If you take any particular commodity, across the value chain from the seed to harvest and then marketing, they require a lot of services to meet their needs, but they are all not available in the traditional stores because of their limitations. And they also do not have any digitization or technology integration, by and large. And also the most important problem what India is facing is issue of fake inputs, spurious inputs in sales. Uh, According to the recent study by Indian Ministry of Public Administration in association with the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, it shows that around 58% of the agri inputs sold on the ground are either fake or spurious or counterfeit. So this is the biggest problem what we are seeing, that lack of availability of genuine products for the farmer. So one side the problem is that farmer don't get everything what they need, and another problem is that whatever things are available on the ground, they are actually not the genuine. So these are the other major challenges. And apart from that, farmers do not get a proper awareness on the good agriculture practices. So these are the fundamental difference when you look at the way developed countries are actually producing, and then their markets are sourcing the commodities which are completely aligned with the good agriculture practices. So there is a big gap, the way our farmers procure the inputs and adapt the good agriculture. There's a big gap. So what's happening is that the consumers do not always get the safe food. So there is no traceability and all those things. So and another important point is that not all dealers are well equipped and equipped with required technical know-how. So these all are the major challenges. Why I am saying this particular slide at this point of time is that this is what actually the biggest network in India to provide extension and input services to all the farming community, who are almost close to 14 crore farmer population is there in India. They are actually by and large dependent on this one. So this is influencing a lot. And the students, you tomorrow, if you go to either agriculture department, or if you join any company which is into the agricultural input business, like seed company or fertilizer company or nutrition solutions company, or pesticides or insecticides or fungicides or weedicides, you name it, farm machinery or agriculture insurance, any solution, they all need to come to again farmers. So this is where the importance actually shows that the overall opportunities actually are coming into one small place as an outlet to receive the local farmers. But there are a lot of issues in that. So at the same time, we are seeing new generation agri input stores are emerging in Indian context. If you look at that, farmer development centers by eFresh, the organization which I actually look after as a vice president for the operations. We also providing a new generation agri stores, and we have another model like DHAT. They are operating largely into the northern central India. And also, very well, most of the people, Managromor from the Coromandel International Limited is a large brand outlets they have. So what they do here is that there's a difference. Professional services are provided to farmers through quality inputs, only quality inputs, only required inputs only available here, because these are the farmer needs driven. It's not about the market driven. Second thing is that full range of services for farmers needs across the value chain. As we earlier discussed that the farmers usually do not get what they need across the value chain. So that those services will be provided by these companies by identifying the local needs. And digitization and data driven decisions to serve the farmers needs timely. This is another very, very important. You may be knowing all these things when you are actually doing your management study, how data management will be used very effectively to make decisions, because that's all about the management. You need to understand uh, what are the things happening, and then what are the needs are there based on the reliable data. And then risk mitigation, financial services integration, these are very important, because the farmers always are subject to vulnerability of lot of uncertainties in terms of the climate risk or input risk or markets risk. There are many things are there, so those things will be taken care by appropriate linkages. And on top of that, if farmers need to buy anything, they need money. So it's all about the working capital for their farming operations, in a business way. So financial services integration also is very important, where these new generation outlets actually provides with tie-ups with the financial institutions. And farm machinery, custom hiring centers and service support. We all know that India has a very limited farm mechanization integration in its farm operations. Of course, we still talk 40% plus our farm mechanization is already there in Indian context, but if you look at critically in that, by and large, it is just restricted to having a tractor. So just having a tractor is not farm mechanization, in fact. So that definition, and then it all has to be changed. So there are many things which actually qualifies that farm mechanization requires many other inputs, which are actually improving the farm operations efficiency and then productivity quality as well. So these are actually emerging now very well. People call them as a custom hiring centers also. And then traceability and output market linkages. This is very important, as the buyers are more conscious about source of the farm produce, which they are connecting to the processing units or retailers or the end consumers directly. So these all are the very, very important aspects that a consumer wants to know that from where the produce he is consuming has come or arrived from. So this is actually going to come from the traceability technology like blockchain technology or other things what they are using it. And output market linkages are, it has to be more efficient. So if you understand now, it's already farmers are producing for the last decades, several years. You can say that every year they are producing, and it is coming somehow to the markets, and we are consuming. It's not that we are not receiving the produce, but the biggest challenge is that how this produce is coming, from where it is coming, nobody has any clue properly. Nobody have control on that. So too many middlemen are there, and the reliability and transparency of these middlemen are always question mark. And there's a dark, or blank, you can say that. So people don't know exactly from where it has come when it comes to the final plate of the consumer. So these are actually very important. Too many middlemen also brings a lot of risks, and too much of expensive, for the produce what we are trying to receive it. So these can be eliminated through efficient integration of traceability and output market linkages with mainstream players. And unique business proposition to farmers. When I talk about this specifically for the eFresh business model, the farmer development centers, for example, they are given as a franchises to the farmer producer organizations or individual agripreneurs. They can actually own by themselves. And eFresh provides all the support to them with the brand and then supply of the inputs, and to get any compliances related support on behalf of the FPOs for them. So this is going to be more owned by the local people, and response to the local needs very effectively. So these are the unique new generation agri input stores are coming. So when it comes to the Indian agri-tech sector business potential, recently Ernst Young has actually made a study which speaks that Indian agri-tech sector can grow to 24 billion US dollars in 5 years. We already last 2 years almost now. Second year we are into after that the report period is published. So if you look at that, so far India has received 1 to 1.5% of the total market potential of this 24 billion US dollars in agri tech sector alone. So the biggest question here is that who will achieve this? How India will achieve this? What are the things requires for this? So it requires a lot of innovative, innovative approaches by the institutions or enterprises or organizations and everything. So again, if somebody wants to implement some innovative thoughts or ideas or inventions, whatever it is, they require quality human resources. So this is the key. It's all about people. So people means it's people like you who actually completed BS agriculture, and now you wanted to build your career and you wanted to understand the markets and then do management, and then so it's all about quality human resources makes the difference. So this is the biggest opportunity. You can see that 99% or 98% is yet to be achieved to the potential, and then this is the biggest opportunity the sector is offering within India. So when we come to the big problem across the globe, hunger and poverty, we all know that feeding the world, which is having 7 billion population, is a huge thing across the globe. Already the estimated number showing that by 2030, 840 million people might go hungry every day, which is currently stands at 800 million. So 840 million it is estimated by 2030. It's going to be a big problem. And in fact, in the recent couple of months, we are seeing that last year alone, COVID impacted that around 23 crore Indians again pushed into the poverty. So you can understand that how uncertainties are coming nowadays. And then, so earlier the problem is only hunger and poverty, but now the health aspect, the COVID also added now. So now if we see that the other challenge is that feeding the world in the COVID era. So now we have more than 16 crore, cases are there actually, COVID cases across the globe so far. And out of that, 34 lakh COVID patients actually succumbed to death. So this is some kind of, the biggest challenge the communities across the globe are going to face it. And now we are seeing in our own the country and in our own states also how vulnerable we are all. So this is another problem, big problem. What we are all supposed to be prepared for this, and from every problem we need to see an opportunity to overcome this and then actually to face it and then to defeat the problem. So as I mentioned earlier, the big opportunity is that solving world's big problem is that hunger, poverty, and COVID implications. I am saying that because everybody is talking about now immunity, everybody is talking about health, and health is actually going to be derived from the food only, and the food actually is coming from the agriculture activities again. So the way if somebody is able to produce with the safety standards, like following the good agriculture practices and ensuring that every protocol is properly done, I think we are going to be building an excellent country or future generations in the coming years. So that's where the human resources have to play a critical role. So you all know that the global goals, like Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) called by United Nations, which are adopted by almost all countries across the globe to address various issues of the human kind facing. So they have put 17 goals. One is no poverty, second zero hunger, good health and well-being, third, fourth is quality education, five gender equality, six clean water and sanitation, seven affordable and clean energy, 8 decent work and economic growth, 9 industry innovation and infrastructure, 10 reduced inequalities, 11 sustainable cities and communities, 12 responsible consumption and production, 13 climate action, 14 life below water, 15 life on land, 16 peace and justice, strong institutions, 17 partnerships for the goals. So these are the focused sustainable development goals for the governments and then industry and civil societies and educational institutions and everything. Everybody has to be connected appropriately. That's where the unity actually comes, in a integration of various institutions or stakeholders efforts comes into a proper way. That is the reason why the 17th goal, partnerships for the goals, is actually going to play a critical role to achieve rest of the 16 goals. So you need to understand that quality human resources with a objective or proper perspective on the entrepreneurship and employment opportunities are actually going to make the difference. So when it comes to the proper opportunities in the agribusiness domain, I just wanted to give a brief on agri value chain approach, because you all need to understand that this is the most important aspect. Agri value chain approach is the most important, because we need to understand across the value chains what are the challenges are there, or what are the gaps are there, who are the real players, credible players, and then who are missing, and across connecting them properly, and then playing the role. Either you work for someone, or you work for multiple one, or you are enabling to work multiple ones to bring into one platform. But that having that perspective is very important. So within this agri value chain approach, as I earlier mentioned, you have these kind of broad areas like seeds. You know that seeds is a big industry, that so within that you have different commodity seeds, and again within the one's particular commodity also you have a variety of seed varieties or hybrids, and they are going to be continuously being with more innovations are coming. So like seeds is one sector, and plant nutrients where you see the fertilizers, and now a lot of new innovations are coming with plant or crop specific nutrients are coming, or not necessarily to use like a 50 kg urea DAP bags, which are very heavy subsidized by the government, but now they are all coming with very small packages, very efficient. It can be supplied through the drip irrigation, or foliar application, whatever it is. But a lot of innovations are coming specific to the crops, and then the commodities the farmers are growing. And then plant protection, as we talked about the weed management, or pesticides, pest management, disease management, all those things comes under the plant protection. And one of the most important area is growing in this is that moving away from the chemical to non-chemical, like biological innovations, or organic products, what they are calling it, some of the companies, by meeting the protocols developed by the competence agencies across the globe. So these all are emerging now. Even the same thing is applicable for the plant nutrients also, the biological products or bioproducts, what it is called. So these are opening immense opportunities in each and every area. Then coming to the smart irrigation, we all know that irrigation is a huge area. Governments are spending thousands of crores across the states, and then every budget you can see that either it is state government or either it is central government, huge money is being allocated for the irrigation projects. But the question is that whether that those areas which are under brought for the irrigation facilities, whether they are actually using efficiently is another big question. Though the governments are providing free power supply, but it is actually costing to the government again. Maybe farmer is receiving free. So this is all important to understand, to introduce innovative solutions in the irrigation. That's where we call it a smart irrigation thing. So there is a growing area always. And farm mechanization, you will be seeing that so huge demand is there for innovative farm mechanization. Despite now, in the present context of the COVID, we can see that the people availability or skill set of the people to do the various farming operations is very limited actually. So we can say hundreds of examples also if you go in detail in that. But so this is one of the area which is emerging, but a lot of innovations and customizations to the local context is required in terms of the commodities they cultivate or land terrain it is actually represents. So these are the emerging areas. And digital transactions, this is all about digitization of the transactions, like the purchases or sales or income received, or the brands, whatever, or the general information about the agriculture farms of the farmers or their resources, what they have. Everything has to be digitized. This is the big area is emerging in that. And risk mitigation services like insurance, including weather index based insurance, or a particular risk which is identified in a particular area, that also can be provided with a customized insurance services for risk mitigation in partnership with specialized insurance companies. So that is also emerging that. So various areas like financial services to provide working capital requirement for the farmers, individual requirements, or farmer producer organizations requirements, or processing units, logistics, you name it, anything in that. Then post harvest storage solutions, this is another important area. I hope you are aware that India is actually losing around 1 lakh crores per annum every year at the stage of the post harvest before it goes to the markets. So at farm gate level, India is losing almost 1 lakh crores every year. It's a huge amount. It's a big amount for, so that is the reason why central government has come last year with a proposal of agriculture infrastructure development fund, which is almost equivalent to the same thing, so that it will save a lot of money and produce, for the farmers. So a lot of opportunities are there in this specific area. We are seeing so many innovative companies are coming with the new solutions. And farm logistics, this is also important because agriculture is always it's it comes from the hinterland, and the produce most demand actually comes from the metro cities or mega cities, you can say that. So the logistics plays a crucial role either in terms of the warehouses, storage, and then cold storages or processing, and then moving within the country or even exporting to the other countries, either through sea or air, whatever it comes and all. So digital marketing is another aspect. Now we all know that how important digital marketing, how powerful it is actually. Nowadays we are getting so many challenges, like we are not in a position to meet people just like that. Earlier we used to do freely, like we used to early in the past, somebody used to, okay, come, let's meet, and then like this. Now the things are changing. We don't even know, is it going to be the same thing in future? We don't know what kind of new challenges are coming. So in this context, digital marketing is emerging very powerful tool when we are able to conceptualize what we wanted to communicate, and to whom we wanted to communicate, and then this is the biggest area is going to be emerging for the career opportunities also. And branding is another area. Branding is very, very important. It is like recognition, right? And it's a trust actually. The branding creates a trust. Okay, it recalls immediately somebody in their mind whatever they are thinking it. So that's the area which is emerging. In agriculture we need more brands. uh, there's a huge opportunity to create a new brands, and including for the farmer producer organizations. And output marketing, this is also another area we already talked about. It's about marketing with retails, and then we are now so many retail institutions are emerging in India. Like we all know that even institutions like Walmart has come to India, and then we have big retail networks within the country like Reliance Fresh, More, Spencers, many other things are there, and local things also is emerging. Like for example, there are many, like Heritage and all those things also. Then imports and exports is another area, because if you know, the farmers actually told that, I mean, the government of India already came 5 years back with two key objectives, like increasing the income of the farmers, doubling, and doubling the exports of agriculture. These are yet to be achieved to the fullest potential, although government already completed one term and then again into the second term in the central government, who brought these ideas and then policies. But this is actually tricky and a bit complex, but it has huge potential to achieve that. This can be only achieved by bringing the efficiencies in imports and also increasing the exports by meeting the standards of the various export markets, targeted markets. So there is a huge opportunity to understand the standards of each and every commodity, what actually has great demand across the globe. So students, you can understand these things during your management courses also, that this is going to be a big thing, because that's where the money flows actually. So that actually defines the way the agriculture production is going to happen or to be happening. So another area is policy advocacy. This is very, very important for everyone to understand that. So some of you, if you have the passion in that, you can actually pick it up as a career opportunity, because policy matters are critical, because these are actually going to influence everything in the industry. So once the government has made a norm that, okay, the mandis are no more controlling only local, so farmer can sell anywhere. So the thing actually, a policy decision has been brought to new implications. Same way, contract farming, is a policy decision. So these kind of things, essential commodities acts and then exemptions, inclusions, all those things will have some implications. So even you can look at that when you are working for a pesticide company or working for the farmers, you need to understand that the government, how the policies are actually being made for specifically for a selective pesticides also. For example, glyphosate has been banned, for a couple of years in India. So at the same time, it is also allowed with some exemptions for specific purposes. So this is very important to understand properly what is allowed, what is not allowed, and then otherwise it will be leading into the biggest fines or even closure of the business and all those things. So this is very, very important. So somebody can provide this as a good advisory services. And statutory compliances like tax payments, licenses for doing the business, whatever the business you are doing, either by your own as an entrepreneur or you are working for some company. When the company is doing the business, and then they need to comply with licenses, and some of the licenses are subject to the expiry and renewals. This all comes into that. Now the GST era has come, and then again somebody has to meticulously follow all these things once they're qualifies to those brackets and all. And another area is food processing. Food processing is everything. Now we are seeing that the way we consume the food, when you look at 20 years back, or if you can ask your parents or your grandparents, they will tell that how the food used to be consumed in India in the past, and now how we are consuming. The entire consumption patterns are quickly changing, rapidly changing, and it's going in towards the instant foods. But at the same time, the challenges are coming, like that the nutritious value of the food. How healthy is this food? How nutritious is this food? These are innovations are coming in, and it's going to be more and more opportunities are coming into this. There's no end for these kind of things. So if you look at any foreign countries which are very well developed, like US or Korea or Japan, or you look at any European countries also, you see a lot of innovations. The way the markets actually provides the food supplements to the consumers, where India is still has to emerge to its population size and also the consumption size. So, and again, the last point I mentioned here is the research and development. Of course, everything is being decided by the quality of research and development, because that is only leads to the innovations. And in India, of course, unfortunately, we are very low in terms of our allocations for the budget for the typical R&D for every segment of in agriculture. Also, it is not very exception, but these are the areas one always can think over how innovatively can take it up and then to build it. So everything, there is a problem, there is an opportunity. So these are the broad areas across the value chain. Within the value chain itself, there may be new things also will come up always into that, which you can explore when you are actually keeping your eyes open, when you are in the right ecosystem, when you are connected with the right industry experts and right advisors during your learning period also. So that will help you to learn more things, what are going the innovations in the market, not only in domestic but across the globe as well. So these are the best things. So coming to, I just wanted to give few examples, like, because this will testify that how innovation is key. Because development, sustainable development means it's all about surviving for a long time, along with the change. Along with the change is all about identifying the innovations. You always need to think ahead and identify the future needs and innovate something to match that. So you cannot be the same. So that's how you look at that. A company called ITC and Bambino or PepsiCo International, you look at their how those companies, how many years back they started, with which products they started, every year how many new products they are releasing into the markets, how they are actually keeping their market share intact and also further expanding within the country and then outside. So it's all nothing. It's all about innovations in the products and innovations in understanding the consumer needs, innovations in ensuring the transparency and quality and supply chain. So these are the various fundamental factors, and also maintaining the quality human resources makes the difference. So when we are aspiring to be part of such kind of a big brands, or we wanted to be part of creating new brands similar to this, because these are the not only three companies which are actually serving the entire globe. There are hundreds of companies, thousands of companies, are it's continue to emerge now. The trend is coming, like new startups are coming, entrepreneurs are coming. So everybody has their own potential to serve the consumers market. But what matters is the quality human resources. So if you look at that Indian food market size, it's about 1.3 billion US dollars at this point of time per annum, and which is already growing at 20% annual growth. It's very, very good growth rate. So as I already mentioned, for agriculture retail input sector, largely, as I said earlier, how the traditional input market supply chain is very inefficient, and how companies like eFresh and other organizations are coming with innovative solutions like these farmer development centers, which are addressing across the value chain all the issues. These are very, very emerging areas. So here also the innovation is the key. And I would like to give one more example in the poultry segment. There is an organization recently I come across. It's a Pakshimitra. So it provides automation and IoT-based smart solutions for poultry farms to improve welfare and productivity. It's all about bringing the hygiene. If you look at any small poultry farm, what is the biggest problem? Litter, because the birds continuously keep littering in the same place, and then they can't clean it by themselves, right? And so they created they innovated a device which can effectively clean it, and it maintains the standards which is in terms of the health conditions for the better productivity and well-being of these poultry birds. So that is going to give more economic returns to the investor and as well as the consumer. So this is a classic example how innovations are actually coming out. And another example is there is an organization called Pureme Organics Private Limited. This is also a new startup from Maharashtra. A women entrepreneur has started this, and then this is all about jaggery based products. So these all are healthy, and a lot of innovations are there. You can see that earlier in the past it's all about just having a sugar candy from the sugarcane farm, and having a raw and enjoy it, and then after that the only getting the jaggery. But now a lot of innovations, you have the bars, you have pellets, and then different things has come into this. So this is what actually addressing the consumer taste and consumer behavior and consumer requirements in terms of keeping a health requirements also keeping in mind. So what makes quality human resources? This is particularly I want to emphasize now for the students whoever are now attending this session. You all need to understand that everyone will come with something, some passion in individually. What is more important is that you have to understand your passion connected to what purpose. So what is your purpose? So how you can actually unleash the power of your passion into a particular purpose. Then once you identify your purpose, then you have to practice it. If you do these things, 3 P's: passion, purpose, and practice, then automatically you will get the performance. That is what actually called impact. So it's all about people. It's you, we all are. So if we are doing the properly the things with the passion, with the purpose, and you practice it, automatically the performance will be there. There may be some hiccups in that, but nothing can be stopped in that. Definitely you will be getting the end result. This is what you require to connect. This is called, you should be in a right ecosystem. If you want to shape up your career, you always need to be in the right ecosystem, because where you are actually defines what you are going to be. So carefully you need to choose your institutions or your mentors or your advisors or your friends. Everything emerges, but it is a choice what you are making, knowingly or unknowingly. So you have another opportunity now to choose that. So one more important aspect you need to understand is that when you talk about practice, there should be quality, there should be consistency. So this is what actually is important. Students, you need to keep it in your mind that always you have to give more uh, emphasize for the quality. Don't worry about the quantity initially. It doesn't matter so how much it is, but if you learn that you are bringing the quality output, then you can replicate this to whatever the quantity it is all about. But quality is important, and consistency also is important. You have to maintain that significantly. That makes the difference. So in fact, from Safe Foundation, we are also offering camps also, which we are aligned with FABs. We are empowering together also the youth in various capacities. We will be knowing in future as well this. So I just wanted to conclude this with a few slides. Just I don't want to talk much about it. You are seeing here. I hope you all can recognize all these people. Abdul Kalam ji, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, Ratan Tata, Angela Merkel, German Vice Chancellor earlier, and then Elon Musk, and Jacqueline from Acumen founder, and Indra Nooyi, earlier PepsiCo chairman, and Alibaba founder Jack Ma, and Narayana Murthy, Infosys founder here. Why I kept their picks is that you can understand these people easily. They have not come to, these are the people who created greater impacts, who inspired millions of the people or billions of the people across the globe. And they achieved this not just by luck, not just by accidental things. They maintained their purpose, their passion, their purpose, and they practiced what actually they found the purpose and passion with the same quality and consistency. That is what actually made them as a impact creators. And it's like a brand, their name is a brand. And that's what I am talking about: passion, purpose, practice. It's all about finding a proper ecosystem. We all need to find good ecosystem to be part of it. That will shape up how we are going to be in the next, and then how we are going to inspire others. So this is all about this interaction, and I will be very happy to give any clarifications or any questions you all have. That let's discuss this. And thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mendu sir. That was a wonderful presentation. The entire value chain approach is something very new for not just us. I'm sure it must be new for all the participants here. Understanding that the entire career opportunities in the ABM sector goes from one end to the other. There are opportunities everywhere, especially in different verticals that have come up recently. There is one thing that everyone must be aware of, that during this entire pandemic, all the sectors in our economy had suffered, except for agriculture. Agriculture is food, and agriculture is the only sector which has had a positive growth, whereas all the sectors in the economy have come down. So that is one thing we need to keep in mind. And I also would like to state that our 2022 batch students, as well as 1921 batch students, even during such a pandemic, we were able to provide internship placement to all the students of the 2022 batch. And most of the students of the 1921 batch have been placed. Some of the students are getting delayed due to the lockdown, because their offer letters are yet to come. But what I'm saying is, opportunities in the sectors are there, and our students are an example of that. Now, before I introduce our next speaker, I would just like to ask one question to Mr. Mendu. Sir, there are few students who have raised this question to us, that they are BSc Agri or BTech, whatever it is. They want to know what is the major advantage of doing an agribusiness management program, because you are someone who recruits students from different organizations. So according to you, what is the difference between someone who's just completed his BSc or BTech agriculture or some other subject, and someone who has done a PGDM agribusiness management? If you could just briefly answer.
Yeah, it's a good question. See, it's all about management, as it clearly mentions that a study which provides exposure on agri business management, because organizations are, if any student tomorrow wants to join any organization, their growth depends on their ability to manage the resources, their ability to do the business. So those perspectives will be much enhanced when they do courses like this, and then they get more insights, and then their capacities will be enhanced to understand the market dynamics. It's all about making decisions. There are so many people who actually comes out and then joins various organizations, and very few actually can be successful. The reason is that their ability to take right decisions. So these kind of courses with the right faculty and then advisors will be helpful to them to learn those things, to understand the trends of the market and opportunities of the market, and how do you manage the opportunities and the resources and risks and do the business. So this is implicable, this is this is very important for the students to understand whether they wanted to do as an employment, they work for some company, or even they wanted to start something on their own as an entrepreneur, if they want to set up an enterprise. So these are going to be much helpful in terms of the business perspective, because that is what actually makes the difference. Why we always talk about companies only. Why we always hear about, as I mentioned just before, that some of the companies like ITC, Reliance, or Bambino, what I mentioned, PepsiCo, or so Coca-Cola, or many are companies. Why we talk about? So this is where they are able to have quality human resources who manage different tasks and different resources, and handles different challenges and risks, and then they make sure that the business is actually going on. And this is where companies actually look at. So the human resource ability, as I already mentioned, that the quality human resources needs to be the key for any organization to survive and grow. As we already seen that the agri-tech startups are, as of now, only achieved 1 to 1.5% of the total potential of 24 billion US dollars market in Indian context alone. So that's where entire the thing is laying now. So it's lying in that, right?
Thank you so much, sir. In addition to sir's points, I just would like to mention one more point, that the entire farmer producer organization sector is growing vastly in India, with government of India encouraging 10,000 more FPOs to be formed, farmer producer organizations to be formed in India. With this, the career job opportunities for students like you guys are also increasing a lot. That you guys will be recruited for marketing purposes as CEOs, and Save Foundation is one of the organizations which helps such students to basically upskill and work with FPOs. So I would like to mention that in addition to what all sir has mentioned, FPOs is another sector that is growing vast.
It's a huge one. FPOs is a huge one, and it actually has the power to offer the local employment opportunities. Students, if they don't need to travel, because now anyway pandemic has brought a lot of restrictions on the movements of one area to other area, but these FPOs actually offers huge opportunities locally, because every farmer producer organization requires, it's like a company. So it requires a CEO, it requires managers for procurement, production, or compliances, or finance, risk. As they grow into that, so many things, so it offers more and more opportunities. So FPOs is going to be a huge thing, and in fact, India is already having close to 7,500 for the last year statistics says, and at the same time, the government wants another 10,000. Roughly, we can calculate that around 20,000 FPOs we can expect by next 4 or 5 years in India. So we have FPOs which are doing 1 crore turnover per annum to 500 crore turnover per annum also, each FPO alone. So there is no limit for the business transactions. They can be even much bigger than some companies in the industry what they are doing.
Thank you so much, sir. If anyone has a question, you could wait till the end, because we have to start the next session. So the next session would be basically about the PGDM Agribusiness Management Program of FABS. And I would request Professor Srikanth. So Professor Srikanth is an associate professor with Food and Agribusiness School. He's been working here for more than 4 years now, and he has completed his BSc Agri and his ABM from one of the top institutions in India. So over to you, Srikanth sir. Karthik Garu, if you could share the screen.
Yeah, thank you, Krishna sir. So students, just in a while, we'll just start off with the presentation. Okay. So I'll be giving you some glimpse about the course. Okay. So this particular program, Food and Agribusiness School that offers, okay, it's basically approved by AICTE from the Ministry of HRD, from Government of India. And this particular program has been designed in such a way that, it will help you people to understand the very basics. It will start from the basics and then move to the next level, okay, wherein you will be able to get a lot of knowledge related to certain specialized courses in agribusiness, okay. So, yeah, Karthik sir, could you please move to the next slide? Okay, so this is basically a 2-year full-time program and we have got specialized case studies that have been designed for this particular program. Okay, these case studies will basically help you, to know about the different situations that exist in the sphere of agribusiness. Okay, it will help you to gain a lot of understanding about the subject that is basically there, okay, which you are studying, be it a management subject, okay, or it could be related to food and agribusiness strategies that are there, okay, and so on. So this program, it has been designed, by taking a lot of advisory services from eminent industrialists, okay, and we also keep updating our syllabus as per the requirement, okay, so that students like you who join, they will be able to know what is actually happening in the real life, okay, and we try to keep it abreast, okay, with the requirement to the industrial needs that are there. And not only that, we also offer a lot of field exposure, okay, practical visits, okay, industrial visits are usually organized. You'll just come to know about all those things in the upcoming slides, okay. Besides this, we try to see that your management skills are honed up, your business acumen that is there, okay, it is honed up, so that you when you walk down, especially to the interviews and so on, okay, you are well furnished, okay, you are absolutely designed in such a manner that would actually suit the requirements of the industry, okay. So you get an orientation likewise, okay, about the happenings that that usually happen in the industry, okay, your market orientation, okay, and then your entrepreneurial skills that are there, okay, even that particular thing gets honed up. So this curriculum that has been designed, okay, it has we have taken inputs from many people, okay, and we have also gone through the syllabus of Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, okay, and Lucknow, and we have designed it in such a way, okay, that students who join here, they will be able to understand, okay, and they'll get a lot of exposure with respect to agribusiness. Then not only that, we also offer the institute, it also offers management internships, okay, with well-reputed organizations. I'll be briefing you about that, okay, and that's how ultimately this kind of program, it will help you to know about the different things that are happening in the sphere of agribusiness. Okay, why? Because we have also got a very highly experienced and renowned academic council members who are there. Okay, like W.R. Reddy sir, okay, Pratap Reddy sir, N.V. Ramana sir. I'll be telling you in the subsequent slides. Okay. Karthik sir, next slide, please. So if you go through the course, okay, we have incorporated many valuable subjects, okay, right from the foundation level. So you have got subjects like managerial economics, organizational dynamics, okay, then subjects like value and ethics, which are considered to be of prime importance, okay. And then in order to see that your business skills are developed, subjects like managerial analysis, accounting, okay, communication, then business analytics, which is considered to be one of the foremost emerging subject in the field of agribusiness, okay, because it's being predicted that n number of opportunities are going to come out because of business analytics skill sets that the people will be having, right? So this subject has also been incorporated, okay. And then in order to understand the domain know-how, okay, subjects like agroecology, sustainability, okay, and then food and agribusiness systems have been incorporated. And then in order to make you people have the idea of an entrepreneur. Okay, course like business modeling, business planning, okay, entrepreneurship development course has been incorporated. Okay, so such such courses would help you to understand what is actually the requirement of the industry, so you can actually prepare well in advance, okay, in order to meet the requirements of the industry, and see that your career will move smoothly, right? Besides this, we have got subjects like managerial information systems, MIS, okay, and then projects, and then policy and strategies. So these are all some of the subjects that would help you, to learn a lot and try to understand the agribusiness sphere. Okay. So next slide, please. Now, as I told you, our education has methods that we adopt. Okay, it is not just classroom teaching. Okay, it's not like what you see in certain other colleges. Okay, we have got interactive teaching sessions. Okay, wherein we allow a lot of interaction to happen from the students end. Okay, see that you try to understand things more better. Okay, whatever subjects are being taught. Okay, you can interact with us. Okay, we can help you a lot. Okay, try to when interactive teaching happens, obviously what will happen, you can clear your doubts. Okay, and in case if you face any sort of queries are there, okay, any kind of ideas if you want to implement it, definitely through interactive teaching you understand a lot. Okay, besides that, we have got experiential learning. As I told you, we have got industry interface. Okay, you get to learn through internship programs that are there. Okay, so that's nothing but you try to learn by doing things. Okay, so by doing this, obviously what will happen, by the end of the second year, okay, you will get to know the complete idea of what is actually happening in the sphere of agribusiness, because by then you come to know about the various opportunities that are basically present in this particular sector. Okay, and then besides this, we have got a lot of visits. Okay, that will help you understand things in a much better way. Okay, so you get a lot of direct exposure, and then you try to explore things much better during the end of this particular program, right? Besides this, we also provide training, okay, so that one can actually improve their capability. Okay, your capacity will improve, and then your productivity levels, your performance levels would improve. So this is how this particular program has been designed. Okay, so that by the end of the second year, you are industry ready. Okay, and you can gel very easily with the people around you, and you can work with more better capacity, right? So next slide. Now, we have got core faculty members. We have got Professor M.V. Durga Prasad sir. He is the academic director of the institution. Okay, he has also completed his PhD from IIT Delhi. Okay, and he has also been a former professor of IRMA institution. Okay, which is one of the most prestigious institution that offers rural management program. Okay, it's in Anand. And then we have got Ramakrishna sir. He is working as associate professor. He has earlier done his PG program in agri warehouse management. Besides that, he is also pursuing his PhD program from Symbiosis International University. And then this is me. So I have done my PG program from IABM Noida. Okay, and then we have got Viren sir. He's working as associate professor. He has done his MBA from Kakatiya University, and he's also pursuing his PhD from KL University. Then we have got Professor Nilendu sir, and he has done his engineering program. And we have got Dr. Mahipal Reddy sir. He is working as associate professor, and he has done his MBA from NIT Warangal, and he has completed his PhD from Hyderabad University. So when you interact with faculty members, definitely you will learn a lot. Okay, so and this is considered to be one of the most important thing, right, for an MBA program, to have very good faculty members who can hone you up, okay, and make you competent enough to take up higher responsibilities in the organization, right? Next slide, sir, please. Now, we have got very, very eminent people, okay, who are actually giving advisory services as to how, to move on. So we have got Professor Pratap Reddy, sir, who is the chairperson of the Academic Council of Sagar Group of Institutions, and he has served as a founding director of Food and Agribusiness School earlier in the year 2009-11, and he was also the director of IRMA from 1989 to 2006. So he's one of the most important person, okay, in FABs. And then we have got Dr. W.R. Reddy, sir. He's the founding member of Sagar Group of Institutions. He's an IAS retired officer, okay, and he was also the former Director General of NIRD and PR. He's also one of the core Academic Council member. Besides this, we have got N.V. Ramana, sir. He's currently working as an advisor with Samunnati Agri Value Chain Finance Company. He was professor and he was also the dean of Aurora Business School in Hyderabad. Recently, he has also appeared as a very eminent speaker in an FPO summit that was held very recently on April 29th. Okay, so he was also one of the chairman of Agri Watch and Indian School of Agri Business Professional, and he is also currently on the board as an Academic Council member. Then we have got S. Bhaskar Reddy, sir. He is the executive director of Syngenta Foundation India, and he has worked with the Ministry of Agriculture on policy formulation and implementation of certain very important policies, okay, related to agricultural marketing extension, warehousing, okay, and then farm machinery. And he is also one of the member of the advisory board of Sagar Group of Institutions. So, so obviously we are receiving a lot of inputs, and this has strengthened the institution like anything. Okay, so next slide, please. Now, coming to the campus life that is there. Okay, so we have got a very wonderful campus of around 50 acres. Okay, and all throughout the campus you can see that there are, it's very famously called as the flame of forest. Okay, and this particular campus is located in Chevella. Okay, and this is around 50 kilometers away from Rajiv Gandhi International Airport, and it's 50 kilometers from Secunderabad railway station. Okay, so our campus is completely, it's a it has got an art of infrastructure. Okay, and then you can see that it has got a library, okay, wonderful hostel, and you can enjoy your campus life if you join. Okay, and then coming to infrastructure also, we have got well-equipped computer labs. Okay, lecture halls are well equipped, and you've also got huge amount of workplace that you can you can have a lot of enjoyment on the campus. Okay, and it's a very green campus. Okay, and besides this, we have got a well designed central library. Okay, and it's all digitalized. Okay, you have got a lot of books to learn. Okay, and you can, if you want to get updated with respect to your subjects, okay, it's one particular place where you can visit a lot. So next slide, please. We have got a very well-equipped classroom, okay, and they are in a semicircular theater format. Okay, that's one of the specialty of the classroom, wherein you can very easily see, even if you are in the last bench. Okay, you can easily see and you can understand the things very well. Okay, there are a lot of communication equipments also. Besides this, you've got a communication lab that's present. Okay, and another specialty of this particular program is with respect to the industry visits that are there. Okay, so you can have industry visits Okay, you can interact with people there, with the representatives there. Okay, so in case if you are interested to be in a particular sector, okay, you can interact with the representatives. They will help you know much better as to what is happening with respect in a particular organization. Okay, and then we have got seminars that are held. Okay, that's another specialty of the program. So next slide, please. So this particular campus has also got a lot of sports facilities. Okay, we have got in the past also many of our students have attended a lot of. They have gone and played. A lot of sports. Okay, various colleges, they host their programs like VJIM, okay, IBS, Manage, okay, and they have won lot of laurels. Okay, we have got very good canteen facility also. Besides that, we have also got hostel facilities that are there, right? So they are all well furnished. Okay, we have got single occupancy rooms. Okay, and then double occupancy rooms are present. Okay, and these are all separate for boys and girls. They are separate hostels. Okay, yes. Next slide, please. So now coming to the career opportunities that you see in the post-COVID world. Okay,
Srikant,
you
sir,
have got
Srikant, sir,
yeah. Yes,
I
yes,
think
sir.
so.
Yes.
Mendu sir has covered this topic, so you could skip this slide.
Yes, yes, yes. So next slide, please. So you can see the success story of all our students. So they have been placed in many reputed organizations like Waycool, okay, Coromandel, then Vedamsa, okay, and then you've got a HDFC Life, likewise Sinochem, okay, Modar Intelligence, NCML. So they are very happy working there, okay, and then they have also shared their experiences also. Okay, once they have got placed in such reputed organizations. Okay, Kandalu Kumar, then Sangameshwar, Navya, Shubham Patel, Tatmanand Reddy, Geeta Pravalika, Divya, Tejas, Anil, and then Panchjanya. All of these have been really happy after pursuing their course in FABs. Next slide, sir. So students have been to industrial visit, as I told you. They had visited ICRISAT, okay, Bayer, and many such reputed organizations. Okay, so once you enroll in the program, okay, you can visit certain organizations, okay, and you can try to get first-hand information about the happenings about that particular organization. Okay, so that's one kind of enrichment that you get by enrolling in this program. So next slide, please. So you can see our our recruiters who are there. Okay, Shrestha, Syngenta, Rasi Seeds, then Sinochem, Ninja Cart, then Star Agri. You have got Coromandel, okay, NCML, Waycool. These are all come in the past, and they have recruited our students. Okay, NBHC, and then Sonalika, Gramophone, Nagarjuna, and then East West Seeds, Bioseeds, Arya. So these are all some of the organizations, okay, wherein our students have pursued the internship programs. They have got placed, okay, like Parle Agro, Shrini, then Modar Intelligence, Reliance Fresh, Now Bharat Seeds, and so on. There are many such organizations, though we can't accommodate everything here. We have tried to put on some of the best things. Yeah, you can also have a look of the other few, such as Reliance, okay, then Big Basket, Jai Kisan, Plantix, and then Agri Vijay, OA Desi, Fresho Cards, Samunnati, okay, Paisam, Agrostar, Nath Seeds, Pollen, okay, and then Dhanuka. So these are all some of the well-reputed organizations wherein one can get an opportunity to work in the near future. So next slide, please. So we have also got a memorandum of understanding with Samunnati and APMAS, okay, APMAS. So Samunnati Foundation, obviously, we have got a lot of tie-up. NV Ramanasa is working with us, okay. And yeah, so this is one of the specialty, okay. Next slide, sir. So yes,
One second, Srikanth sir, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
So I just want to inform one more thing, that we are in the process of having strategic collaboration with many other companies, like including companies like Dhanuka. So recently we had a discussion with Mr. Vikas K. Khoka, who is the head HR of Dhanuka, and so they want to have a strategic tie-up wherein they would be regularly interviewing and recruiting our students. So that is one of the additional strategic tie-ups that we are planning. Similarly, other strategic tie-ups also will be happening over the next week.
That's wonderful, sir. Wonderful. So see, we have also got a tie-up with ICICI Bank. So in case if you want to avail educational loan, okay, you can definitely get in touch with them. Okay, the institution will facilitate you with the required things. So next slide, please. Yes, so our admission process is in progress. Okay, we'll be conducting. It's basically of a two-stage. Okay, it will be through test. Okay, and on an online format. You will have to pay rupees 500. You'll have to attend a test, after which you'll be there will be a telephonic round of interview. Okay, and if you get qualified, definitely you can enroll in this particular program. Okay, so you can just take the contact numbers also. Okay, and you can also fill up the form that is present. Okay, you can just use the URL that is there, and you can try to fill up the form if you are interested to enroll in this particular program.
Let me again interrupt, sir. So
yes,
so this Google form is the form that you guys have used to actually register for today's program. So we have your details. If you are new and you have not filled the Google form, I have shared the Google form link in the chat box. So you could use the chat box Google form link and fill that form. So this Monday we would be conducting an admission test. Also, we will be sending a generic email about our program with the admission brochure by email to all of you. And also the participation certificate of today's program will be sent slightly later. So do not worry, just keep checking your email IDs. We will be sharing a generic email by either end of today or tomorrow morning. And accordingly, you could also talk to our team members.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, so I hope we can end the session.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Professor Srikanth.
Thanks.
Now, I would open the floor to the participants if they want to ask any question to either Mr. Mendu or to us, the admissions team, the programs office, or to Professor Srikanth. And then we also have our academic director, Professor Durga Prasad, available. So if there is any question anyone would like to ask, and now is an opportunity, or what you could do is when we send the email, we will have 2 contact numbers mentioned there. You could call those contact numbers and ask any queries that you have. So yeah, if anyone wants to ask, kindly unmute your mic, mention your name, and ask a question.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, sir. Can you audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please go ahead. If you are comfortable, if you want to ask in some other language, Hindi or Telugu, you can ask, no problem.
No, sir. From when did the class will begin, sir?
Okay, so normally the academic year starts. So academic year basically starts with an orientation session, which has to be for 2 to 3 weeks. Once the orientation session is over, then the academic year starts. So we will be starting the orientation session by mid-July. So you will, if you are interested, you will have to complete your admission process by the end of June.
Okay, sir. And one more thing, I have to ask you all that. Will your college provide any phone numbers of the old students who have been placed last year?
Yes, definitely we will be doing that. So Once we send you the generic email, we'll have 2 contact numbers of Mr. Raghuram and Ms. Ambika, who are our admissions team. You can call them and they will provide you the contact details of any alumni members.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's it.
Is there anyone who would like to ask, or can we end the session? It's up to you guys.
Sir, hello, sir. This is Akhila. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So actually, you said that to join there, we need to give an entrance test, right? Some
Yes.
admission test. Except your admission test, are your colleges accepting any other tests like CAT or ATMA?
Yeah, so let me just make one thing clear. That's a very good question, actually, an excellent question. So CAT, ATMA, these MAT, these are examinations that each of you has to compulsorily take, because we need to upload your details on AICTE portal. This admission test that we conduct is more for us to filter out those students who are good and those students who are not very good, because we want to take the best students into our institution. So this admission test is more for just filtering purpose. It's not basically a formal all India test. It's just for filtering purpose. It's a very simple test for us to know whether you are capable enough to do this 2-year program or not. But yes, all India tests you need to compulsorily give anyone. You need to clear and you need to submit those details with us.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Whether can I apply for the PGDM ABM program with my BSc Agri? Yes, any graduate can apply for the PGDM Agribusiness Management program, including BSc Agri. So if you have completed your BSc Agri successfully, you can definitely apply for the PGDM Agribusiness Management program.
Thank you.
Who's the participant? But the name says DELL, Dell. I am sure Dell is not your name, but you are asking for any startup ideas. So agri startup ideas. So Mendu sir, would you be able to answer anything? So one person has asked, could you suggest some agri startup ideas?
Yeah, in fact, we touched it during the agri value chain approach and innovations. What we were talking, like some of the startups which are doing in agri and food value chain. So there are so anything can come up with the ideas, like in terms of the seed processing or food processing, or even insurance services, as I mentioned already, about even policy advocacy related things also. It's all about understanding the sector first. So students need to understand the whole agribusiness ecosystem, how it is actually existing. Based on that, maybe their passion and then some of the thoughts what they would like to address can take shape. So across the areas what we touched, there are plenty of opportunities are there, and we have been seeing it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I hope Mr. DELL, I hope your question has been answered. Okay, there are several questions coming, but they are very common. So I will just tell you 2 things here and then I will close the session. Firstly, many have been asking even earlier whether we provide internship support to those who are outside the organization, like who have not joined for the PGDM ABM program. We can connect you with companies who are recruiting BSc Agri students for internship purpose, but we cannot give you any assurance. Basically, our relationship with our recruiters is such that they take our PGDM Agribusiness Management students for internship, and that too a paid internship. So each of our students who have joined management internship, they are getting an average stipend of 5,000 to 10,000. Some of them even 12,000, because it depends from company to company. So we do not assure any internship opportunity for BSc Agri students. If you have joined the institution, then we can then definitely you will be getting a management internship. But if you want just any support, you want us to connect you to some company, definitely we can do that if time permits. And also some students have been asking about the fee structure. About the fees, let me tell you that before I tell you what our fees is, if you compare the fees of agribusiness management courses across India, ours is the cheapest. because we want to open it for everyone and we don't want to restrict. So before I talk about fees, I also want to restate that we have a tie-up with ICICI Bank. So if someone is not capable enough of paying their fees on their own, they can take loans from ICICI Bank. We will get you connected. So our fees is basically 2 lakhs per annum. This is just the tuition fees, which includes your library, your IT infrastructure, everything. Then based on the kind of rooms that you would be taking in our hostels. Again, staying in the hostel is not compulsory. If you are from Hyderabad, you could do up and down. But if you are staying in the hostel charges would be separate. You could call our admissions team and they will give you more details about that. So with that, I would like to once again thank all the participants for joining. And I would like to thank Mr. Mendu Srinivasulu sir for taking out time from his extremely busy schedule. I know he's extremely busy. So thank you so much, sir, for joining. I want to thank our faculty members, Professor Durga Prasad sir, for joining. And with this, I would like to close the session. If you have not already filled the Google form, it's there in the chat box. Please fill it. If not, have a great weekend. We will be sending you a generic email with our admission brochure by either end of today or tomorrow morning. So thank you again, once again. Bye, sir. And the certificate for today's program will be sent in a week's time.